So I am the first woman to climb the second highest peak on all 7 continents.
It's one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard. And then getting to meet you as a person, you are a rare human. You have a really cool story to tell. And this is one of my favorite, it's actually my favorite stories I've ever heard.
I was 40 years old, and I had never slept in a tent before. This was the stretchiest stretch of a goal you could imagine.
This is so cool. This lights me up. I love this stuff.
I believe we're born to climb. There's a mountain inside all of us that we are here to overcome. So if the win is only the summit, you missed a lot of wins along the way. If I reach the mountain and don't make it easier for somebody else to reach it, what was the point of my climb?
But if you don't have a fire, it's very hard to align purpose to a person that doesn't have a fire that's burning from something. Okay, so we were starting real quick, but I think I'll just introduce in a professional manner here. But we were starting the story organically, kind of the pre-show banter of you just on September, beginning of September, the next edition of the Guinness Book of World Records. You were going to be in it. And so I think it's a great way to open the show for Man on a Mission here. We got my dear friend, Jenn Drummond, who is going to be the star of our next mission experience, our mission-driven experience for the Mission Project. And so we're podcasting today. Jenn, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. Such an honor.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, you are an honor to be in my life. Since I met you, I think the magic's just sprung all around you. You're such a magnetic human. But when I learned your story, I think that was one of the first things I was like, that is one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard. And then getting to meet you as a person, you are a rare human. You have a really cool story to tell. And this is one of my favorite, it's actually my favorite stories I've ever heard. So that being said, I guess let's just start with the Guinness Book of World Records. Is that maybe a good spot? So that's coming out in September. What did you break the record for?
Yeah. So I am the first woman to climb the second highest peak on all 7 continents. It's a record that grew out of a car accident and a challenge and another challenge. And so it's just fun that it's coming full circle in the next couple of weeks, and I'm here to celebrate.
Congratulations. So when I heard the second highest peak, you were the one that educated me last time I saw you. That's actually much harder than climbing the first highest peaks. So walk me through that real quick.
Yeah, I think one of it's logistics, right? So you don't have the mountain climbed as often, so you don't have as much detail about it. There's not as many people going to it. So if something's wrong, you don't have another team saying, hey, we forgot this. Can you help us out? And then also there's just technicality differences. So for example, a lot of people know Kilimanjaro, which is the roof of Africa and the highest point. Well, Mount Kenya is the second highest point. And Mount Kenya is a 20-pitch rock climb. So you have to have a harness and rock climbing shoes. And there's actually even an ice climb at the top for the gates of mist. And then you have to rappel down the entire thing. And because it's at the equator, you only have 12 hours to do it in daylight from start to finish.
Wow.
So it is an aggressive push, and it is a lot more than what Kilimanjaro is. And that just gives you an example of how, even though it's the second highest point, it doesn't mean it's easier.
Interesting. So one on every continent. I remember you mentioning the fact that you actually had to climb an extra 2 just to make sure you actually broke the record. Tell that story and how it works. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. So, 7 continents. Think it's pretty clear on what 7 mountains you should climb.
Right.
Yeah. We have self-driving cars. How do we not know what a continent is in today's world? But here we are. Yep. And so when I was registering with Guinness, they're like, hey, there's actually a dispute on some of these areas. I'm like, okay. We think you should climb Mount Rosa in Europe, because if people don't like to think of Russia as part of Europe from a geopolitical line, sure, then you get to cover Europe, and then you have Russia. And then the other one is Indonesia. So many people think of Indonesia as a part of Asia. If it is, K2 is the second highest point in the entire world, so K2 would win. If Indonesia is considered a part of Australia, it's actually the second highest point is in Indonesia, not Australia. So I climbed the mountain in Indonesia, I climbed the mountain in Australia, I climbed the mountain in Russia, and I climbed the mountain in Europe, and we have them all covered. So 9 mountains for 7 continents.
You are amazing. So, okay. I have to ask, there's so many questions that are going to come to mind, and I could literally just interview you all day. This would be awesome. Pick inside your brain, because it takes a very special person. It has a unique drive and a fire that's birthed inside them, which I think we'll get to in a minute. But I just want to ask the question. So who is the decision maker that is sort of driving your decisions? If someone wants to break a world record, is it the Guinness book that you have to sort of be in bed with on the front end? Just curious how that works. And then like, how do you determine like, oh, that's maybe not going to work. Why don't you go climb 2 more mountains? Were you pissed first of all? And then like, how does that decision making work? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I had kind of know because someone did the second summits before and someone's
Right.
done the highest summits, and there's always been that dispute in Indonesia. So I kind of knew that might come up, but the problem is Indonesia's been closed since 2017 because of a civil war. So I wasn't even able to go there. So I was like, "Hey, would you recognize this record based on these mountains listed?" And then they're like, "No, we really need this other one listed." And by the love of the world, all of a sudden that country in Indonesia opens and I'm able to go there and climb. I'm like, okay, this is amazing because that
Wow.
wasn't an option like 2 weeks ago. So that worked out in my favor. But no, Guinness is very strict on the record keeping, making sure that they keep their brand at
For
a level
sure.
that everybody respects. So I had GPS files, I had photo files, I had different people write testimonies that said she was there and she did the thing and all the little pieces. And you submit all of that material so that they have it. They go through a review process and then they certify your record.
Sure. You know, it's interesting to think about. There's probably a lot of records that maybe are not well known, but they're records nonetheless. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that maybe even broke the record, but weren't aware of it, didn't have the setup, or the awareness around it. But can you go after a record that hasn't technically ever been one that has been sort of had a metric to it? Like, I mean, how does that work? Like, if I want to be the fastest to climb up and down Everest, I'm just giving a random one that, and maybe there's something add to it. Can you call them and say, hey, like, is this, like, what's the process?
Yes. So you can there's always a first, right? Of something. Yeah. So you can say like, hey, I want to set this record. Here's the record that I'm going to set. Here's the day that we're going to do it. Right. Here's the methodology that we're keeping track of things to make sure that we're in compliance and all these different details. You can even have Guinness World Records send one of their people out to verify and do all of those things. They don't really want to climb mountains, so that wasn't an option for me. But yeah, so there's definitely that option. There's a bazillion records out there too, just to let you know. Yeah. Like what started this was, it was during COVID. I was homeschooling my kids. I did not feel like a cool mom. I have like 5 boys first, then twin girls. And the only thing my kids would read is Guinness World Record books.
Wow.
And so I was telling my coach one day, I'm like, if I got a Guinness World Record, I'd be the coolest mom ever. And my coach is like, well, let's think of one. I'm like, okay, but listen, I'm not growing pumpkins or speed eating hot dogs or having the longest fingernails in the world, because like those stats are in there. Right. Like I want a cool record.
Legit.
And so then he came back with the mountain one, and that's kind of how it evolved.
This is crazy.
And it's pretty cool because not every record gets in the book. So I'm really grateful that they're putting this one in the book because it just closes that circle for me.
That is so cool. What a story. So you had 7 kids when you decided that you wanted to take this challenge. That was one of the first things I learned about your story that like gripped me. I was like, wait a minute. That is so rare. What was the first mountain you climbed?
Yeah. So the first one I climbed was actually a mountain I wanted to climb for myself, named Ama de Blam. Okay. And Ama de Blam is one of the most photogenic mountains in the world. You see it on every picture everywhere. My son heard it as I'm a dumb blonde instead of Ama de Blam, and challenged me to climb a real mountain like Mount Everest. And so that's how I evolved the goal from like Ama to Everest, and then Everest to the world record.
That's incredible. Where is that first mountain? Just so I'm aware.
Yeah, so it's in Nepal, and it's actually on your way to Everest.
Okay.
So people who trek to Everest Base Camp get to see it.
Yeah.
And if you climb Everest, you see it. And if you climb it, you get to see Everest.
Yeah.
So,
well, forgive me for asking, because you look 27. So, you had 7 kids, and you're the first legitimate mountain you climb after this whim to break a world record. How old were you when you went after this? I think this will inspire a lot of people because that's incredible.
Okay, friends. I was 40, like
That's so
40
cool.
years
Good
old,
for you.
and I had never slept in a tent before. Okay. So, like, this was the stretchiest stretch of a goal you could imagine. Those of you who are not watching this, but you're listening to this,
Yeah.
like, my nickname's Mountain Barbie. Okay. I have long blonde hair. I care about how I look. I am not the
Yes.
profile of a climber.
I love
And
this.
that's okay because you're allowed to be the profile of the climber however you want it to look.
This is so cool. This like lights me up. I love this stuff. I mean, it's just so left field. But at the end of the day, after you climbed that first mountain, was it a bug? Did you have it? Were you hooked?
Oh yeah. So like all of us, right? You set this goal, you do the first thing. It is this amazing, beautiful, awesome experience. And then I do my first second summit climb, which is Ojos del Salado. And it's a volcano located in the Atacama Desert. Sounds really sexy, doesn't it?
Yes.
It is the worst climb of all of them. I'm like,
Mm.
what did I do? Why did I sign up for this? This is terrible. And the reason why it's terrible is because if you're on a volcano, you're on the feature.
Hmm.
Like, so you don't get to look at other things while you're climbing. Like you're the feature. And a volcano is this rock. So for every step you take up, you slide half a step down. And you just do this for hours upon hours
Insane.
upon hours. You're like, I think I'm making progress because I've been doing this for hours, but there's nothing visually that's giving me that feedback.
Wow.
And this is in the Atacama Desert. So it works kind of like an oven where at nighttime there's no sun. And so there's nothing that keeps the heat in.
Right. It's
So
freezing.
in the morning when the sun comes out and the heat comes, all of a sudden this wind starts going like a convection oven. And the entire time you're climbing, you hear the sound of like the whole time. And you think this is punishment. Like this is punishment. If I'm mad at my kids, they're going to stand out in a windstorm.
That's crazy. So that was the second one you did. And that
Yes.
was, and that, so how many, let me ask you this real quick. Is the only record you have the second highest peaks on 7 continents, or is there any other records you have, or have you done one that is a record for somebody, but is significant? Like, have you done the highest peaks? I mean,
So I've done most of the highest peaks
Okay,
because
I knew you
crazy enough, what you do, like, so you do Everest to train for K2.
Right.
Like you do not want K2 to be your first 8,000 meter peak. Everest is much easier. When we were in Antarctica, you climbed Mount Vinson so that you trained for Tyree. Like you
Right.
just are doing
this way.
a lot of time the highest peaks to put you in better position for the second highest peak because you don't want altitude to be an issue.
Sure.
And altitude's not an issue if you've already done it. And it's like anything in our goals, right? If you do the harder thing in practice,
Yeah.
when it comes to the game, like you're ready.
Sure. That's genius. The considerations that, if you're going to do K2, you got to do Everest first. So when you're in the planning phases and the training phases, I imagine there's a training phase. I don't think you just woke up and said, all right, I just had my 7th kid. Let's get this mountain going. Like, how long's the training? And then when you're in the process of planning, do you know that, I mean, number one, you're planning for success. I'm sure hopefully the weather's good or you can make it to the top and back and you don't die. But are you already set up to instantly move over to K2, or is there like a seasonal thing, or how does that work?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about training. There was beautiful training plans that a lot of people got to utilize, but I'm a mom of 7 and I'm in business. So those training plans did not work for me. I did not have 8 hours a day, 6 days a week to go play. I wish I did. So a lot of times it was me, okay, that Zoom call, I don't need to be on camera. I'm going to do it with a treadmill underneath me at an angle.
Wow.
Oh, that soccer game, I'm going to go stand on the sideline with a 12-inch step and a backpack full of water bottles. And for an hour and a half that I'm watching my kid play, I'm going to at least get some exercise in.
Incredible.
So it was like very much saying, this is my goal. How do I fit it into my life? Because I need to be a mom first.
Yeah.
So that's like one key component to it. 2, mountains do have climbing seasons. So like you're climbing in Antarctica in January. You're climbing Everest in May. You're climbing K2 in July. And so if you miss it, like I had to turn around on 3 mountains. And so when I had to turn around because it wasn't safe to continue, I had to wait an entire year to go back to climb that mountain again.
Incredible. How many years?
Yes.
How many years since you've been climbing?
So I started in 2020. So Ama de Blanc was November, and then my first mountain for the second summits was December of 2020. And I got my last mountain for the second summits October 9 of 24. So 4 years.
That's incredible. How many mountains total? I mean,
I probably climbed 30 mountains.
yeah. So the amount of time commitment and financial commitment to this is undeniable. And this is not for the faint of heart, because these are some serious things. So to be able to not only sort of physically prepare yourself, but the mental load with your family, your business, and your time and your finances. How realistic is that to be able to sort of, that's what makes this crazy to me, is you have all these things sort of stacked up. This is not like some, billionaire who's deciding that he's going to go mountaineering, on Everest one time, or even maybe he does get the bug, but like this is a mom of 7, and you're an incredible mother at that. But, I think that is where I'm trying to wrap my mind around the concept of all that you took on. And you still did it. It's like, are you just that good, like naturally as an anomaly, and you found the thing that like that guy would have to work 10 times harder than you with no other focus, and you have all this focus and you're just that good? Or how would you speak to all that?
Yeah, well, one, I didn't know what I was getting into 100% in the beginning, okay? Like, for some reason, I thought I was going to climb every mountain the first time and never have to go back. And so when you have to go back, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, now that's double the cost.
Wow.
It's double the, like, all those little things factor in. But I think, like, any of our goals that we're trying to fund or do, you have to break it up into, like, what's next. Okay. So I would get back from a mountain. I'm like, okay, what mountain's my next mountain? How much does it cost? How do I make it happen?
Okay.
And then I would, when I came back from K2 and failed the first time, Russia opened. So we could go to Russia. So we were climbing in Russia. And so I'm like, okay, I need to come up with capital fast. What do? I will come talk to your company about like different things to motivate them. I will do a leadership retreat. I will take your team hiking and get them outside of the office and thinking about different things in a different environment.
Sure.
So you pitch yourself on something that would add value to that company. I'll take your flag to the top of the mountain and we'll put that into the slide deck and all these different pieces. And so then that would fund it. And then I'd come back from that. I'm like, okay, we're on the rodeo again. And here's what you do. And no one wants to fund the beginning ones. And at the end, it gets a lot easier, but it's hard, and it's every mountain, every time, ready to go.
Yeah. What a story. So how much would you say you should save up if you want to do a legitimate mountain and do it right? I mean, what is the investment to do an Everest?
If you're going to do Everest right these days, you're probably spending $75,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it $100K to do?
It's
do
probably
it right?
100, like 75 to 100. And you kind of want it to be that way, because let's say there's 20 companies you're interviewing. When you're interviewing these different companies and deciding who's the best fit for your personality and things, like you're asking questions of like, if something happens to a Sherpa, like what are the resources for his family? Because that's the main income earner. And how are you taking care of those people long-term?
Right.
The mountain, we have garbage and tents and oxygen bottles. Like what's your protocol for getting that off the mountain and leaving no trace? And so I think as a steward of the environment, you have to ask those questions and be willing to pay more so that you stay in integrity with who you are and what your values are.
Can you put insurance on it in case something happens to another family member or from a Sherpa or something like that to really secure yourself?
I don't think they really, no, right? Like you can't even buy life insurance for us over there when you're doing those things.
Yeah.
But there's different funds that you donate to, and there's different things that you do to just help minimize those risks.
Right.
And like the best thing you can do is be the healthiest, strongest, most fit possible climber so that you're not putting the Sherpa in undue risk because they're trying to compensate for your weaknesses.
Sure. If like the average rock solid Sherpa was to actually go out and pursue the highest peaks and the second highest peaks as like, the way that an American would, but with their skill set, their lungs, their unique capacity, where they smoke everyone?
Oh, 100%. Because financially, they don't have to pay for the mountains because it's their home base, right? So for most of the mountains that are the big mountains in the world, they're in the Himalayas or they're in Pakistan, which is the Karakoram range. And so you're getting into those ranges, which are cheaper for those guys to climb, but they live in that environment. So like I live in Park City. It's a lot easier for me to climb a mountain than it is from somebody from California.
Yeah,
right. And so they're always in there. And the climbing season in Nepal is 10 months. So those guys are trained that entire 10 months to be able to go up and do it again and again, where we come home, like it takes you a while to get your body ramped up to handle that lack of oxygen again.
I love this story. Colton, where did you live? Were you in Nepal? He
Ooh,
lived.
I love
He lived
Kathmandu.
in Kathmandu. Yeah, she
The
loves
people are
Kathmandu.
amazing.
Yeah. He's always talked about Colton traveled the world with me. It's just he's my buddy, you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
I love when he talks about that region. So I have this like odd desire to do something similar, but I've
Yes.
never. I think okay, so I'm in my 40s now, so good. I mean, I'm ready to go, but I think it was always the business that was held me back from like thinking like that, because I knew the amount of commitment it would take, and like I was just so vested in building my infrastructure of my life. But now I could pull it off, but I never even considered the reality. I just fund it myself. But this is actually a business where if you're going to do it, it makes sense to go find leverage to be able to offer that value of your killing yourself to something else that has sort of that vested interest that you can offer. I never thought of it that way. Sort of, I guess, unless you're already a world-renowned mountaineer, I guess you could say. But to just go do it, is that a trained sort of way of being as a mountain climber, to go get sponsorship to be able to do it? Or, is that something you do as you get better? Or, I mean, on your first one, is it expected to be able to do that?
Yeah, you're not like, to get a sponsorship from brands and things, like, probably not going to happen for
Okay.
many people.
Right.
But to get sponsorship because you're going to give value back,
Sure.
like leadership training or speaking or things like that, like
Yeah.
that's more realistic.
Yeah.
For you at this stage, like with your business, I think taking a team to Everest Base Camp, it's a 2-week expedition. It is the most beautiful part of the world.
Love
The
that.
people like make us look like, I mean, they're just the most loving humans ever. You bring a group over there, you do the llama experiences, you do like all that mindset work,
Let's
and
do
then
it.
you stay to climb. You could totally do that or come back with everybody. But I'm telling you, if everybody went to see Everest
Mm-hmm.
and they did that trek, we would be dealing with a different world.
Wow, that's incredible. So I love this stuff because I'm after like this next chapter. I'm stuck on this idea of these bucket list experiences and the things you just can't do, and things that are not like touristy, that are legit and you can check that box and feel great about it. And but we're gonna inch there, obviously.
Yeah.
But I know who I'm gonna call. Like you're the one I'm gonna call.
I'm your girl.
Mhm.
Any kind of
Yeah.
adventures out in the mountains, I'm your girl on any continent. So there
Yeah.
you go.
I love this. I want to get a deeper, obviously, but there's too much fun stuff up here. So let me keep going. The hardest mountain you ever climbed, was it the one you just described with the shale rocks where every 2 steps you're a step backwards?
No,
Okay.
I wish it was. Mentally, that was exhausting. And it was like, I was brand new at the sport. So to me, I was like, oh my God, did I just sign up for 7 of these? Please tell me no. The hardest mountain truly of that pursuit, I would say, was Mount Logan. And the reason why Mount Logan is the second highest point in North America. So it's like our home base mountain. It should be easy. It's by the Gulf of Alaska.
Hmm.
And so what happens is you're just on this exposed glacier that has not been tested. So that means like every single step you take, you have to put your ski pole into the ground, the left, the center, and the right of you. And if it bounces back, it's safe to take 1 step. If it doesn't bounce back, you could fall through a snow bridge or crevasse that you're not seeing. And so you can't move forward. Then what happens is there's no Sherpa, there's no support on that mountain. So everything that we need to carry. So it's on a sled that I'm pulling, it's on a backpack that I'm carrying with 2 other people, that's 3 of us that are doing this together. When we set up the tent is so exposed to wind it could rip. So now you have to take out saws and you're cutting out ice bricks to make igloos to protect the tent from ripping in the wind. And so what happens is like you build the tent, you build an igloo, you melt water, you rehydrate food, and you eat. The next day you wake up, you're like, okay, well, I need to move up this mountain. You have to test every single step. You get as far as you can go. You're like, okay, this is as far as I can go. You dig a hole that's 5 feet deep to bury as much stuff as you can. And then you cover it up and you ski back that exact same line down to your tent, melt water, eat food, go to bed. The next day, you wake up, you pack up the tent, you like now know you have a little path because you tested the route the day before. So you get to the spot that you buried your stuff, you go past it as far as you can so you're not too tired. You unpack your tent, you set up another igloo, you melt water, you eat food, you go to bed. The next day, you go down to get your stuff that you buried. You have to bury it 5 feet deep, otherwise the ravens will dig it up and steal it.
Wow.
You undig it up, you bring it to your tent, and like you have to inchworm up this mountain for like 16 miles till you get to the top.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about Mount Logan is that you'll get to 16,000 feet. Then you have to go up to 18,000 feet. and you have to come back down to 16,000 feet, and then you go up to 19,000 feet. And that's just
It's
how
insane.
the mountain's made. So you just have this like bump in the middle. Well, when you go over the bump in the middle at 18,000 feet, there's no rescue. So if you get into a storm or something happens, no one can come to get you because they can't get the helicopter back.
Mm,
And so you have to know, like, I can get there and can get back because no one's coming.
yeah.
And so it's just the decision making, right? You don't have teams that you're deciding things with. You're reading weather patterns. You're looking at the weather. You're deciding what to do. You're 100% responsible for, can I get this fire to start? Can I get the snow to melt? Is this enough calories? Am I going to freeze to death? And it was so hard.
I love hearing this, just considering your start, because you're such a crazy expert. But it's almost, you would assume, to the caliber of quality and depth that you've actually, like, gone to be able to have these stories. It's like you had been doing this your entire life, and the fact that you were like nails and like eyebrows, eyelashes, it just blows my mind. If you're hearing this, I can't even imagine the time it takes to prepare for a mountain like that. Like how much research you have to do, because like you really can't practice the way you probably need to until you're on it, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, what does that look like? What is the prep time? And is it everyone's significantly different, the amount of research and studying? Do you need to actually get with someone that's done it? What's the best approach?
Yeah, so you're studying people from before. Like any of us doing anything, the best way to get there is a mentor, like
Yeah.
someone who's been there. Give me your files, give me your
Okay.
diary, show me your pictures. And that's the notes that we would take every day. So if somebody needed to do it after me, I'd make it easier for them.
Mm,
Right. So here's what we did. Here's what we wish we didn't do. Here's
sure.
what we wish we did do. Here's, like the things that we learned. And you kind of go with it. You just become so self aware
Wow.
because no one knows how cold you are.
Sure.
No one knows how hungry you are. No one knows how tired you are. And so you have to be willing to say, like, I can't go anymore today
Yeah.
because my body will not be able to generate enough heat to keep myself from being frostbite. And if
Right.
I get frostbite, the expedition's over. So it is very much, here's who I am. Here's my limits as a human. We have to work within this parameter. And how do we do this together?
Yeah, this is so cool to consider this. So, as far as the scariest event of your entire life, was it on a mountain? I mean, I know you mentioned that you have a story that I'm sooner or later I'm going to connect to this, but maybe we'll just stay with the mountain on this one. What is the scariest mountain moment you've ever had?
Yeah, I've had a few,
Have you?
right? Like this is the sad thing about it. I lost a friend on one
You
mountain.
did. Were you there?
Yes.
Were you there?
Well, thankfully I wasn't because
Oh
I got
gosh.
lucky, right? So K2 is one of the deadliest mountains in the world. 25% of the people that climb it die in its pursuit.
That's 1 in 4.
1 in 4,
Insane.
right? It's insane. And so we were climbing it, and because it's such a triangle of a mountain, there's not a lot of places to put tents. So it limits how many people can be at the different sites at different times because there's just not enough place to safely put a tent. So the year that I was climbing in 2021, there wasn't enough tents at Camp 1. I was super fit, so we decided that I was going to go a day ahead, and I was going to skip Camp 1 and go to Camp 2. And so we're at Camp 2, and then like everybody's like a camp behind us. Well, every day there's avalanches on K2. Like you hear them every morning.
Yeah.
And it's because in the afternoon, there's a storm that comes in that drops moisture that gives us snow. Every morning, the sun comes up at a certain angle. It hits that snow. It makes it warm and it causes it to fall off. One morning, the team was climbing and they got hit by an avalanche. And so one of the most experienced people on our team passed away. Another one got injured, and one of them had to stay in the avalanche terrain for the entire day because they couldn't send a helicopter because the helicopter's vibration would cause another avalanche and we would maybe lose them.
Wow.
So like you're dealing with real life things. So I wasn't in that moment, but it was still like, wow, this is real. This isn't just something you read about. This is happening to me and my team, and I can't believe this. On Mount Logan, we were in a storm for 7 days.
Wow.
And we could not move. We couldn't go up the mountain. We couldn't go down the mountain. And it was windy. And we kept like the igloo that we built was like collecting snow, which was then causing the tent to not have oxygen levels that we needed. So we had to unbury the tent. But if we ripped the tent, then we'd be dead because it was the only thing that was keeping us alive. And the tent like ripped in the vestibule, thankfully not where we were sleeping. But there was a point where we had all of our gear on. The guide was like, put your snow pants on, put your hat on, have this, write a note in your phone to your family. If something happens, like this is the best chance they're going to get something from you. And so like for 14 hours, you're sitting in this tent, listening to it be pulled taut by the wind, then being released, and then hoping like it's going to let you go. Right.
Mm.
And it was just one of those moments where I'm like, what am I doing? Like I paid to be here. What's wrong with me?
Okay, two things. Well, like 100 things. But you are the baddest chick on the planet. I'm just gonna say, right? You were the baddest of them all. Number one, but number two, like Colton just walked in. Colton, I'm gonna say this right now for everyone. I've talked to a lot of cool people in my life. She is the baddest chick on the planet. Actually, baddest human on the planet. I'm just gonna say it right now. Wow, what a story. There's okay. Like, so what was dawning through my mind is when you're in a storm like that, the way you're describing it, it's like, how many times have you been on the mountain and had this thought, like, why the F am I doing this?
Oh, every mountain.
That
Like,
haunts
I
you,
wish
right?
I could tell you, like, right? Like, I'm sure you have it even with this big event that we have coming up. Like, you're so excited to throw it, but there's still moments you're like, why am I doing
Always,
this? This
yeah.
is so much work. But on these mountains,
It's
I'm like, I
different.
am paying to be here. This
Yeah.
is so much work.
Right.
All these pieces.
Right.
But like, here's the thing. I believe we're born to climb. Like
Hmm.
there's a mountain inside all of us that we are here to overcome.
Sure.
And so if I don't physically demonstrate that, it's the internal climb that I'm doing as much as the external climb.
Right.
And understanding that like if I died, at least I died in the arena,
Yes.
doing the thing, leaving everything I had on the table. And I want my kids to live a life where there's nothing left in them,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for them. Why it was
Exhausted.
mountaineering for me, I have no idea. Whatever it is for them,
Yeah.
they're here with that mission and I'm here to support it.
Yeah, it's amazing that you found such like meaningful purpose in such a really challenging. I mean, K2, 1 in 4 people die that go up that. I mean, it obviously didn't dawn on you to the degree that held you back, but the level of awareness of the amount of people that have died on that mountain, like how does your family support that? How do you justify that to them? Is it what you just said? Or at the end, do you believe that you won't? Do you have to have that belief that you are not going to be one that's going to be one of those 4 that passes away historically?
Well, I mean, you have to believe that. Otherwise, why are you going? Unless you want to be on a suicide
Sure,
mission.
right. Yeah.
Right. But for me, this is a really interesting topic because it's been something I've been playing with lately. I did the 7-second summits. I am confident with zero hesitation that that was a mission from God. Like I know, like I would have never came up with it myself. I didn't know, like I never slept in a tent, whatever else like that. But I knew as clear as day, like this is what I'm supposed to do because doing this is serving a bigger purpose,
Yeah,
a
it
bigger
is.
story,
Yeah,
and
it
I'm
is.
part of it.
Yeah, right.
Now I like when I filed this record, Guinness is like, hey, Jenn, you're a couple mountains away from another record. Well, that sounded fun,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
I go to Denali this May to go try to like climb and set another record.
Yeah, right.
When I'm on Denali, we have to turn around. My guide gets sick and it's not safe to continue. And I sat with myself and I did not have the purpose vision that I had before. I sat with myself like, oh my gosh, I climbed this mountain out of ego. I wanted another record because it felt good.
Wow.
But it really wasn't what I needed to do to have impact in the world. And I was distracting myself from what I'm really here to do. And it was a huge aha moment for me.
Interesting.
And so I might not go back to Denali because I don't think it was what I was supposed to do, but I needed to be there to understand the difference between purpose and ego.
That's amazing. What a powerful story. I remember talking to you right around that time because you were going to try to scream down the mountain and come to our event. Remember? Okay. But didn't you hurt yourself too coming down, or did I hear that wrong?
No. So my guide got sick. So the guide got sick and had to be helicoptered off, which then meant I couldn't continue. Luckily, I didn't have any injuries or anything else like that. So I was fine. But like there was people that did have injuries on the mountain, right? Or did whatever. So it's interesting because I went there to summit. When I realized the summit wasn't in my reach because of the circumstances out of my control, I was like, okay, well, how do I make this a win?
Yeah.
And so on my way out, I gave all my snacks away. I gave all my Band-Aids away. I gave all of everything that anybody on the mountain needed.
Of course you did. Yeah.
So that they could have their summit, because maybe that was why I was there, to realize that this was an ego play instead of a passion play. And I get to play a role in somebody else's summit, not mine.
Yeah. You know what? A beautiful way to describe like that setup. Like it didn't go through, you had the level of awareness, like it was profound, but then all of a sudden it's like you switched to giving. You switched to looking around and being aware of a new type of way to be valuable. I love that. I think those are the most valuable people in the world. They take awareness, and it doesn't mean they were right or wrong. It means they can course correct, and then they could turn it into value no matter where they're at or what's happening. It's a very cool gift that you have.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
very
we get to
common.
define the win, right? So
Exactly.
if the win is only the summit, you missed a lot of wins along the way.
So true.
Is
Ah,
that
that's so
right? So
true.
like the goal is like, how many wins can I have today, and what does that look like
Mm.
for somebody else?
What a perspective that is. It's one of my favorite concepts. You're right. I think there's something really beautiful and bold here. I'm leading back to what I think, you're going to describe as a really beautiful purpose, but I'm still so like jarring, like my brain's stuck on all this accomplishment. And I want to know like odd details. So forgive me. I'm getting there to where I want to go. But as far as the record that you were aware of that you were going to break, what was that one?
Oh, the second one or the first one?
When you went to McKinley, you were aware that,
Oh, okay, yeah. So I had like I only have McKinley and Russia as the highest summits left, and I'll have all the highest summits in the world
oh,
too.
wow. Has
And
anyone
so
ever
it's
done
like
that?
I haven't done McKinley and I haven't done Elbrus. And so when I get those two
Yep.
mountains done,
Okay.
then I'll be the first woman to do all the first peaks and all
Yeah.
the second peaks on every continent, which sounded fun.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do Denali because it's the United States.
Sure.
It's just you have to have a lot of time to be able to do it because it's so finicky with weather, and it's a really bad time of year for me with the kids at the
Mm,
ages they are because they're graduating from high school and doing
right.
all these things.
You're so funny.
So it's just something that's going to sit on hold because
Yeah.
it will always be there.
Yeah. If time's right, it's time's right. But you've already done 98% of the work. Is what it seems like, even though there's a big mile stretch that left to go, that is not going to be an easy one. But that's got to be rewarding that you've put so much distance between you and most people that have ever walked this planet in this sport. As far as like the concept of hitting those last two. Has any female ever done that? And then how many males have even done that? Because it seems like there's only two people that have done the second highest peaks ever now. You're one, and there's a male that's one. That's incredible in and of itself. I mean, how does it feel to be one of only two people ever documented to do that?
Yeah, for me, it gave me a goal to work towards, right? And then like when I started walking the path of it, it wasn't even about the climbs anymore, which I know sounds bananas. It was about meeting people in different cultures
Yeah.
and learning about their way of doing life and seeing them for who they are and saying like, okay, I'm going to do this for all of us.
Hmm.
Because in the United States, we're very blessed. And in other parts of the world, females are not as much so.
Right.
And so when I would connect, like every town I go to, I would find the people that do the hair and the nails because that's how women bond. They connect in these little
Interesting.
environments.
Wow.
And so they would love to be able to do a blonde's hair, right? Like they see you on TV and they're like, oh my gosh, I see one in real life, which sounds silly, but
No.
it was so fun because we couldn't even have conversations, but we could with our
Yeah.
eyes and our energy.
Yeah.
And so for me, I felt like I need to do this because I want these people to feel this energy and to bring this into their own story, however that unfolds.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I love how you can bring this kind of like depth to, I don't think really probably any mountain climbing, perspectives I would have ever expected to have this level of unique depth inside down to the level of finding local places that do nails and to be able to like integrate and feel and bring perspective to the community. Do you think that somehow that way of being has contributed to your level of success, which is so rare?
Oh, I mean, it's the only way I could get to the top because when
Mm,
it was hard at times, I'm like, no, I have to climb it for that girl I just met this
yeah,
morning.
right.
Right. Like she doesn't even have this option. I have this option. And so I'm climbing it for both of us.
Hmm.
And so it gave me the fuel I needed to get to the top.
Yeah, that's the word I just thought. Like, what a great fuel that is. Like, you bring purpose to hard things that keep you going. Is that a something that more people should be doing? Is actually bringing like such a powerful meaning to anything that's hard that they do.
You do. You do, you do, you do. Like, I think about, like, this is a silly story, but I have twin daughters, and one of them, like, they were premature. And one of them was in the hospital, like, in the giraffe and on the breathing tubes and all the different things. And we didn't think she was going to make it. And I just remember, like, sitting in that room, breathing with her, thinking,
Mm,
I am so grateful for all the doctors and the scientists and the researchers that figured out this technology that even gives her a shot at life, and how many times they must have failed, or maybe they didn't get it anywhere, but they took that baton to one level that somebody else got to take it to the other. And today my child's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, on any of these pursuits that we're chasing, it's really like just moving the needle. And if you get to the top of the mountain, fantastic, you'll have another one to climb. But make sure you enjoy the process of moving that needle forward, because that's how society advances, and that's our responsibility.
God, that's a powerful keynote right there. What a perspective that is. I mean, what is a core keynote? With all your perspective in the world, I would love to, sort of hear where your head is at, like the most powerful core message that can come from all your experiences. What would you identify that as?
One line that I say almost all the time is big mountains take big teams. A lot of us like go to climb an Everest and we think we're going to do it alone.
Right.
And when you think about Everest, there's people that manage the tents, the food, the oxygen, the ropes, the kids at your house, the airplane flights. Like there is so much involved for you to get to the top of Everest. So if you have an Everest-like goal, be prepared to have a big team to make it happen.
You triggered a kind of an interesting thought too. And this is where I personally thrive, is when I'm thinking like 10X, or I'm thinking about like a big goal. And often, like, especially when I know I'm going off course, like I'm stuck in things that like make me feel like I'm not living, and maybe they're important, but like I don't thrive in this. So I have to like really figure out how to pull myself back out of it. But it's interesting when I actually set my sights on a goal that no one thinks is possible, and it's ostentatious, and I put a timeline that's unrealistic to it. Often, even if I don't get near it, like where I land is 10X where I would have with these sort of what seem to be like smart goals. And so I've been big with that in my life of what I think is setting a goal that has been far out. And it's so cool to think about, because if you're going to 10X, none of this works. The whole concept works for me personally, but for people listening, just consider this. Like if you're going to, 10X what you're doing right now, like you can't do what you're doing anymore. You have to rethink about everything. But if I think about like even a crazier goal than that, it's so funny that none of the things that I have to chew on like are here anymore. They just disappear in a second, because now I got to figure out how to make that happen. It's where the universe sort of conspires to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And I love this thinking.
Yeah, you and I met up in Idaho like not too long ago, that event that Tony and Dean were putting on. And Tony came in and talked about that exact concept.
He did?
He's like, listen, like I want to solve like this world hunger thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now all of a sudden it was like, I need to think about like, how do I build farms? How do I get irrigation? It's these problems that all of a sudden become an entirely different problem, because you're looking at it from such a big perspective that the little things you thought about before don't even play in the world anymore.
Sure.
And it allows us to look at these things from a different angle and be like, oh, here's the solve.
It's genius. If you think about it too, like the reality is, if I'm doing this, and say this is like a 10X, I like thinking really big, and this is so good for people because it'll get you out of the weeds really quickly towards what you really want out of life anyway. But if I really want that way over there, and that's like, oh, that's a dream that's like maybe when I'm 70, I'm just making it up. It's so far away in my mind. If you think of it that way, it is. But what would happen if you would have brought it in and say, hey, can I do that in the next 2 years? And it sounds like so crazy, right? But if something that no one believes in, that you bring in and you put a timeline and a goal to, and that is what you sort of, go to solve, you have to ask so many different questions, which none of them are going to have answers right away. But it forces you right past everything. And you could literally skyrocket like past most people. And what I've realized so often when I meet someone that has done something crazy or something bizarre is they literally skip all this and go straight to what they really want. You represent that to me. And I think that's why I like you so much, is like I'm drawn to the magnetism of people that like play big in life. No matter what it is, that's what you picked. And you went all the way to the top.
No, and I think that's for all of us, like those that are listening today. Like, listen, when you pick crazy goals, there's an energy about them that draws people in, and you have support that you didn't even know existed. Like when I went to climb Everest, I was afraid of being gone from my kids. I wasn't even worried about the mountain. I'm like, I can't be gone that long. That's not an option.
Right.
My entire community stepped up and they're like, hey, will you teach the kids about setting Everest-like goals at school?
This is great.
And so then I set these Everest-like goals with the kids at school, and they had a tracking device on me, and the schools all tracked where I was going, which then made my kids feel super loved on because everybody knew where their mom was. And I came back and I'm like, they didn't even miss me. They're like, Mom, we like talked about you all the time, and I miss them.
Yeah.
And I think when you're doing those big things, like people want to be a part of it, and it makes it easier.
Yeah. what a gift to be able to even digest. You are littered with gold, because that one is maybe one of my favorites, meaning like your worry that might have kept 99.99% of people not doing what maybe that voice that's a faint whisper that's coming out of their heart. I always say it's the voice of God, but people don't listen to it because it forces you to confront scary things. And usually, I think if you listen carefully, the scariest things are in bed with the greatest purpose. And so if you listen to it, you're going to have all these imposter thoughts, and many of them seem very reasonable, like, oh, I can't leave my kids that long, right? Well, some person like you is out there who listened to the call and did it. But what you get to be the voice of perspective of is, and I think this is a unique concept and consideration, like my ability to be a great mother or father, let's just consider, like, is it doing the most incredible thing in the world that took so much time and dedication, and becoming that beacon of sort of it is possible, and sort of coming back. And I've always been big on it. It's not so much the volume of time, it's how you spend the time when you have it. Is the perspective and the lessons and the gift of the child so much uniquely like rearranged in how that magnetism connects to you when you just did the impossible and sort of proved it as your mother. And again, like what you found is there was still a link and connection in you doing a scary thing to your children that often has I bet you, I would consider this, I bet it has 10 times more intrinsic value, the way that energy in that relationships develops, than you every morning being there. And maybe I'm wrong, but like, no, maybe not.
Well, and it teaches your kids like, oh my gosh, other people besides my mom think I'm cool, right? Because obviously mom thinks you're the coolest thing that's ever happened. But then this is the coolest thing. The kids would come home with friends after school and they'd be like, your mom's the one that climbed Everest. Yeah. And my kids would be like, yeah. And they're like, if you want to go someday, she said she'd take us. And so they're not even like questioning if Everest is like out of the realm. They're like, yeah, do you want to go? My mom said she'd take us. Let's do it.
Well, the role of a parent is a consideration that's worthwhile to ask. Like, is it to be around every second, or is it to actually go after your God-sized dreams? And there's a nuance probably in a parameter that makes sense, but you doing that, is it not more value for a child when they see you pursuing your God-sized dreams, visions, and potential?
For us, I felt like it put us doing life in parallel. So for them, they might not want to do a math homework. For me, I didn't want to do a workout. We had to eat healthy together because I needed to survive. Right. Like we could relate to things and they could visually see it, because a lot of times our kids don't get to see what we're doing at the office or how it's all coming together. But since I was doing such a visual thing, they're like, oh yeah, my mom's that mom over there in the corner doing the step ups, or, like you're going through the pain points together, and it makes it relatable so that they feel seen. And you still do it. Like our family does hard things. And so step up on the block. Let's go.
Hard things, baby. Let's go. I want to ask you too about your significant other and how that setup worked. And I don't know exactly the story if you want to embellish on it, but as a family, you as a mother sort of pursuing all this, like, when you have 7 kids, is a family is the father like this too? I don't know how far you want to get in that, or if there's a lesson you want to pull in there, but I am curious.
Like on any goal that you're achieving, especially if you're a parent, like you have to take care of the foundational things first. So for example, if I was at Everest and like stuff was going bad at home, I couldn't be at Everest. Like mentally I'd be back at home. So I had to have like the people closest to me like fill in the blanks, cover the basis, make sure everything was taken care of so that I wasn't feeling that void, and neither were they. Yeah. And so it is a family affair, and it does take more than just a family. Like grandma's involved, the nanny's involved, like the teachers are involved, the soccer coaches may be helping drive for a practice or something. So you have to have your village tight, locked, and loaded. Yeah. So that you can be doing the thing that you're doing. And that's why I'm in this season of, I'm not the one that's climbing mountains right now. Like I took my chance, I did my thing, and now I'm the support block and doing another role so that somebody else in my family can step up and do their thing.
Yeah. I love that. I'm so glad I asked that. The way you answered it was so genius, because at the end of the day, beyond getting your house in order before you pursue something that is going to take everything you have, I think there's just a chemistry between not just doing hard things, but like doing very rare hard things, that is in alignment with your greatest purpose and potential. but that infrastructure, like you can't, you're
Yes.
right. How could you possibly leave your home if it's not in perfect order? And what's cool is like, I think the synergy and the chemistry of you pursuing a big goal, you're right, it forces such a powerful alignment down here so that it becomes a bedrock for you to go after the big dream. And with that support and them cheering you on and them, you know, almost like it's the mentality, I think, of a great a sports franchise, just when everyone's sort of alignment, but that is part of the team. I think that you were describing earlier, that it really takes a beautiful team to climb Everest. That is the foundation of the team, is the people that are home that, you know, have your back and they're saying, go do the thing. I got you, mom.
Yeah, right. And like when your kid's sad, they're not being like, yeah, your mom left you. Right. Like they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but look what your mom's doing. And
Right.
look, like that's who you came from. And that's who you're like, they need to breathe that life into your people so that you can be there and it's all supporting the mission.
I love this. What's your relationship with fear? Have you always had sort of a daredevil-esque part about you, or no? Is this totally a left field and you had to go confront the greatest fears, but without having the adrenaline necessary? Like the junkie adrenaline is someone that's geared for this. Are you that way, or are you just this anomaly?
No, like everybody has to build a relationship with fear. I think born a human being, like you have fear. We have a fight or flight system on purpose to keep us alive.
Yeah.
And that's going to get activated doing anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's learning how to train that nervous system to handle whatever that fear manifests as.
Yeah.
And so for some people, that fear is speaking on stage.
Yep.
For other people, it's walking on a ladder over a 2,000-foot crevasse. And for me, it was like, as long as I leaned into the fears that showed up in different areas, like, I'll be honest, I'm afraid of spiders.
Me too.
Okay. Like, so what I would do would be like, if I saw a spider, I used to like make other people kill it. I'm like, no, I'm killing the spider. Like that, I'm capable of doing this. And having that like confidence on that little task, I'm like, oh, this fear is just manifesting this way. I got the spider. I got the ladder. We're good to go.
I love this. It's such great advice too. Like if you're afraid of it, like prioritize doing it and check it off quick. You know, kill the spider. That could be a metaphor. We could make that into a brand. Kill the spider. It is so true. You know, what's funny is like one of my favorite things to talk on is one of the most universal fears. It's the idea of speaking. And I had some unique sort of mentoring because it was one of my greatest fears, meaning like I'm not temperamentally, most people get me wrong. I hate the camera. It's not comfortable for me to turn my phone around, although I do it all the time. I had to have a purpose that I stumbled upon and that I started believing in that was more powerful than my insecurities, because I didn't need to do it. And there was no reason that I should have. But that voice that was calling sort of sparked from death in my own story, kind of led me to this odd place. And it was like the greatest mentors I had was a little speech coach named Idora and then Ed Milet. I had this unique two odd people. One's a little old lady that's retired, but she's like kind of a famous speech coach. And then I had Ed, and I paired these unique pieces of advice together. They didn't even fit on the outside, but they are actually some of the most genius things that I've ever paired together. But the level of awareness I have of what's happening when I'm afraid, that alone for me was big. It's just the science of why. And I needed that for that particular subject, but it really gave me perspective almost on all fear once I started really mastering my greatest fear. And I think with you probably could shed extra light on this, that some of the greatest fears and situations that you've been in, sort of overcoming those, when you come back home down to life, and it's like, oh, does it bring sort of the fears of why people stay stuck or don't go after their dream when it comes to like things that you know are scary? You've been in such like scary situations. 1 in 4 die. Like that works, right? Do you come back as like a Brahma bull towards business, life, getting the deal, shaking the hand, like, you know, saying what you want to say, being honest, and like, you know, all the things that, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. You just like learn not like here's, I think the biggest thing for me was the car accident. And the car accident was a line in the sand moment. Like I realized like I should have died. I think I had the chance to die. I promised I would do something with my life if I was allowed to live. And so when I was granted the wish to live, I realized when I die, I check out by myself.
Wow.
Right. So it's not like Erik can say like, well, Jenn was really good. She helped me with this, or she did this, or she volunteered, or whatever else like that. Like all these external accolades don't matter. The only conversation that matters is with you and your creator. And so when you're having that conversation, it's like, was I willing to just be like, here's what I feel, here's what I think, here's my thoughts, I'm going to give it everything I am. And if you don't like me, that's not my control. It's not supposed to be. I just have to be as true to me as I can be, because then it's going to start directing me to where I'm supposed to be, because I'm going to magnetize who I need to be with.
Yeah. Wow, it's
So
amazing.
like you learn to let go of other people's things because it's like, you're not my judge. This
Yeah.
guy upstairs is, and that's who I'm going to check in with.
Yeah, you just said like we check out alone. That's such a powerful connector to like making a decision today that is in
Yes.
your best interest. Is faith a big part of the equation?
Huge. Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
we have to have faith, right? Like faith is what gives you the ability to trust tomorrow
yeah.
based on what happened today.
Mm. This car wreck that you were in. When did it happen, and how bad was it?
Yeah, it happened in 2018. I lost my driver's license, so I was getting a new one. I was paying attention to the side of the road. It was my fault. Like the accident was my fault. I was paying attention to the side of the road. I was going fast. I came
Mm,
up hot in a semi truck, hit the back end, went end over end. Thankfully, I was the only person injured in the accident.
wow.
The police were on the scene, went to the hospital, got released. The police called me a few weeks later and they're like, Jen, we've rebuilt this accident every way possible. There's not a scenario where you live or walk away.
Oh my God.
And you did both. And I'm like, I know. Like I knew, but then when they called you and said it and all that stuff, it's like, okay, that was my thing of we don't get to choose when we die, but we sure get to choose how we live. And this day is a gift, and my gift back to it is what I do with it. And I
Wow.
have to take that serious.
How old were you when what part of your journey was this accident
I
in?
was 38 when it happened.
So you hadn't even climbed a mountain yet.
I hadn't climbed a mountain. The
Okay.
mountains came
Yeah.
after.
I was going to ask, do you think somehow this car accident was the setup that you needed to go make the boldest, scariest move?
Yeah, it was yes, and it
Yeah.
gave me the courage to be like, guess what? Because here's what happened. I survived this horrific car accident around the same time. My girlfriend goes running on a trail. It's wet. She slips, she hits her head, and she doesn't get to come home.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, like in this very short period of time, I'm
Mm,
metabolizing these two extreme situations, and I realize like it doesn't make sense.
yeah.
But I'm not allowed to have it make sense. I'm only allowed to use my life for my purpose. And guess what? I'm not. I'm
Mm,
hiding in society and looking like I'm this over involved mother, and that's approved. But it's an
mm,
addiction from fear.
yeah. Oh, it's amazing. What if you are so special as a person? I wonder, I talk a lot about winning, right? And, you know, like I love it's a core center point that's always been a topic that I love to talk about. I love to study it, and just, it's part of that. I think everybody who wins in life at the end of the day sort of has a definition of what winning is. But when I really think about it, and I recognize sort of like winning is, there's always a sort of fire that is birthed somewhere in a person that is actually winning. And, you know, it's easy to reflect on so many as you get good at life and realize that it never comes from comfort. It never really comes from a place of safety. Like winning usually comes from pain, or the greatest winners I've ever met. Often you start, when you get beneath the surface, it was trauma. It was some kind of hunger, desire to prove something to someone important, feelings that you weren't enough. There's always sort of a place where this fire is lit. Usually in that younger life, there's this story that connects. Where is your fire lit from in your story?
Yeah. When I had my son, Jack. So when I had my first child, and all of a sudden this baby is handed to me, and I get to live a miracle, right? Like having a baby and
Mm,
having this human, like one, it took me forever to get pregnant. I had a ton of like fertility issues and everything else. They hand me this baby, and I'm like, this is the most
wow.
amazing thing ever. I will do everything in my power so that you can be who you're designed to
Yeah.
be.
I love that.
And like that, like you just come back to that every day and you realize like my kids are watching. They're watching me. Like, what am I giving them permission to do? What am I teaching them about being a human? What do they believe because they're in my presence? And so that just drives every single decision I make. It's
Mm,
why I turn around on a mountain. It's why I climb a mountain. It's why I volunteer places. It's why I say no to things. And it's why I say yes.
yeah. Oh, I love that. Did you have a good childhood? You know, was it, just curious, just if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, like people ask me this all the time because everybody wants me to have this terrible childhood that I'm
I
like
don't want
trying
you
to
to.
redeem from.
Yeah.
And I really had a great childhood. I have a wonderful brother and sister.
Mm,
My dad was one of 13. So I had like 65 first cousins on my
yes.
dad's side, and I didn't know what a blessing that was until I was older and didn't realize that wasn't normal.
Mm,
Um, and so I just grew up with this like herd of people that were competitive but loved you and cared and like all the things.
yeah. You're you mentioned before, like sort of this chapter in your life, the alignment, even after you're coming down McKinley, but so, or is it Denali? The alignment of where you're in right now. It's not to go back necessarily and climb that mountain, but I am curious, sort of like what your plans are this next chapter, what that North Star is, and what it looks like for you now in your mission. You know, if you can connect that to what your mission is.
You know, I think you kind of learn what your mission is because our superpowers aren't always so obvious to
Sure.
ourselves. But I know I'm really good from going from vision to victory. Like that is my sweet spot. I can come up with an idea, I can execute it and get it done. And so for me, it's looking at people that are stuck in the loop and not able to get past that spot to get to their summit. That's where I'm supposed to serve. Like
Hmm.
I want to connect with you. I want to help you. I want to look at you and I want to say like, no, you're meant for more. Let's get you there.
Yeah. Well, I look at you as like you're a $1 billion brand. I mean, that's just, I think there's so much intrinsic value that pours out of a person like you, and you have like a unique stock value that's sort of birthed in action that is so rare, and it's so relatable to the information that flows from that place of value, and just from a unique perspective. And I don't know if there's any more unique perspective than the highest place on earth that you can stand, you know, legitimately, right?
Right,
So
right.
so I encourage you for sure. You know, I know you came, I think it was, you were in the financial, if I remember correctly, financial services world, sector, investment world. Maybe touch on that for a minute. But from there to mountains to here, you know, was it the mountains that sort of helped reflect that maybe that is not the center point of like where the career of you is going to come, or and it's evolved into this? Or is there still a connection to the career that you were in as you were going off and
Yeah.
climbing 30 mountains?
Well, the funny thing about like building a business is like I built this business and then all of a sudden I got into climbing mountains and everything was so metaphorically the same. I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I have to choose to make the phone calls. I have to choose to do the difficult things. Anything I carry to the top
Yes.
is something I'm going to carry. There's so many relatable pieces.
Right.
And because I built that financial foundation, it wasn't about financial anymore. It was about impact. And so it's like, how do you parlay these
Yeah.
experiences to have impact?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that lasts.
Yeah. That's why you're one of my favorite people. Like, you know, the impact replaces the income, but I think maybe you can give me your perspective. I almost think you first need to have the income. You need to get a taste of a dream life, and that, you know, at least in the natural evolution towards impact is sort of the primary objective that sort of dominates the way you think. And it really starts, and maybe answering that whisper of a voice. For me, it was the idea of stepping in the light. I struggled with that for so long until, like, you know, the right person asked the right question, really pulled something in me. But, you know, the alignment of impact I think first I had to get to a place where like it didn't feel good anymore. Meaning like
Yeah.
no longer could success sort of like wash over the problem that I thought I was buying from in my story. But I don't know if you can relate to that. But can you get to this place without first having the discipline and sort of the awareness to know that you can get what you want out of life?
Yeah. You know, I think having that financial foundation gives you freedom.
Yeah.
And when all of a sudden you set these goals for yourself, right? Like I want to make this income, and then you make it, and then you double it, and then you double it, and then you double it. And you're like, wait, I'm the same person. Like I don't like what this doesn't
Good.
change anything. And so when you realize success isn't it, but significance is,
Mm.
like everything changes, and you're like, okay, well, sure, I could go do that, or if I did this, how many more people get to be a part of it? How many more people do I touch? Because if I reach the mountain and don't make it easier for somebody else to reach it, what was the point of my climb?
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm big on this because, like, I know there's a lot of young Erik Rock versions out there. And so if I'm just speaking to that, I'm good with it, right? But I know that, like, the fire that was birthed in that kid needed the chips on his shoulder. He needed someone to hate him. He needed someone to not believe in him. And so that was the fire that said, oh, watch me. And, like, I'll let that play out. Like, I don't want to screw that process up because I trust it personally. I trust that process. It keeps me working hard. It keeps me showing up. It keeps me disciplined. But at the end of the day, like, I know where this is leading. And so to be able to guide that now, once we can teach sort of winning and get that foundation right, it makes it so easy then sort of connect that next dot. But I don't want to confuse the value of that, because a lot of people, that's all they have. Whether they grew up in the hood and from nothing, or you grew up privileged, but you had a dad that was a president. Like, at the end of the day, his pain may be just as good as bad as his. And if you don't have the right perspective, many people don't realize, if you're a trust fund baby, I don't feel bad for you. Actually, I'm heartbroken for you, because I have clients that were are trust fund babies that I've worked with, and they have some of the most painful stories I've ever heard because they lost the ability to sort of like earn. And there's a weird like process that if you take it out of someone's life, they are actually missing the most important thing in life. And that usually happens from a place of rock bottom where someone can't carry you out of the you have to learn how to earn, and that without missing that. So again, I put a lot of perspective on this topic, but at the end of the day, I don't want to weed that out in a person, but I think purpose usually is the place that shines best, is when you first realize like, oh, I can do this. Like I can compete with the best. Like I can use this fire for a lot, and then we could switch it to good. But if you don't have a fire, it's very hard to align purpose to a person that doesn't have a fire that's burning from something.
Yeah, I know something has to be driving you bananas.
Yeah,
And
right.
whatever that thing is that's driving you bananas, like that pain is your purpose. And so like flame it, like build the fire, feed it oxygen and keep going. And so those of us that like, I have clients that were trust fund babies too. And so then we had to change the game. Like, how are you going to measure your success? Because it's not finance.
No.
So is it how many people you feed? Is it how many houses you build? Is it how many problems you solve? Like, we like to measure things. It's a human experience. And learning what to measure really helps you value your life.
Right. So in the business of you helping people, is this a newer venture as you step out? Are you really starting to use your story and you've been obviously you're so dedicated to mountain climbing for many, many years that obviously the evolution of where all this stock value sort of birthing is now in this version of you that is stepping in the light, like really putting yourself out there. But what does that look like?
Yeah, no, it's fun, right? So I'm on stages right now, which I absolutely love. I do some expeditions with people too, because they have to move their bodies up that mountain themselves. And they hit this point of failure or frustration. And all of a sudden we crack through that and they realize how that's showing up in their everyday life. So getting them out into the environment and in the elements and feeling that sensation is a sensation they feel in other parts, and we can start to dissect that and work forward. And then also like doing the mastermind stuff, right? Like getting that group, like your accountability team and your people next to you and pulling everybody together. That is the game changing thing we all have access to.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, to me, those are the best investments I've ever made because they led me to my favorite people I've ever met.
Favorite people,
Yeah,
favorite people. Like I would do
yeah.
anything for people. Yes.
They're the makeup of my core being, and that's why I'm here with you right now. I got a few questions I'd love to hear your thoughts on. So what do you believe is the number one problem in society right now?
People not going after what lights them up. Right? Like I thought, you hear about this mental health like problem and people being depressed and anxiety ridden and everything else like that. I was that person. I was like, I have everything on paper. I don't feel amazing. Why am I like meh? I thought it'd be so much better. And then all of a sudden I started doing me. And when I leaned into me, which made sense to nobody, including myself for a little bit there, all of a sudden I'm like, I love my life. I'm excited. This is amazing. And when your kids see somebody that loves their life and can't wait to get up, it gives them permission to look for that for themselves. So I think their biggest problem is like not enough people are doing what lights their soul on fire, and it dims the light for all of us.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of pair that up with, I think, especially like knowing what I think my deeper mission is always going to be innocence and children. And I've kind of reflected back on like where some of the impact that I felt through the process is obviously it's always with people that aren't children. But what I believe in so deeply is like when daddy stops lying and starts telling the truth and holds up that mirror, the greatest beneficiary of that process is a child. There's a child that watches dad step up to plate, mom step up to plate. The communication changes, the frequency changes, the energy, and it's a really beautiful way to touch children, is being able to sort of help cure the problem that I too was struggling with. And when you can pull purpose out of someone that doesn't see it in themselves, it's a unique gift to be able to give. And I found that all you got to do is touch one person. It might be 10 million kids that is the byproduct of that person who's just going to rise. So it's a neat thing to consider.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think you tapped in this, but I only jotted a few questions in this interview, but one of them is I love to hear people's perspective on is if like the world handed you a mic and you had 60 seconds to say one thing that you think every human needs to know right now to live a truly happy life, what would you say?
I would say being kind to yourself
Mm.
makes you stronger.
Hmm.
Like, I think life is hard, and we are supposed to be our biggest cheerleaders and our biggest promoters and our biggest, like, celebrators. And so when you learn to celebrate yourself and be like, "Oh, man, that was hard, but man, I tried." Like, "Good job, self,"
Mm.
right? That just gives yourself permission to keep going. When you break a bone, you don't get mad at the bone and be like, "Fix it, let's go." You put it in a cast and you heal it and you, like, physically give it time till it can perform again. We need to do that with ourselves, like emotionally and mentally and all those things, so that we
Wow.
can become the best version of ourselves.
I wonder if people walked around and what they were thinking about themselves, if it came out loud, like if there was a speaker, then you could hear your inner thoughts come out. How many people are beating themselves up all day?
All day. All day.
Mm.
We do this thing in our house called the toothbrush talk, which I didn't even know was a thing. But here I am climbing mountains, and you don't have a mirror when you're brushing your teeth and climbing a mountain. And so I would just look out at the universe and be like, wow, this is so pretty. What a beautiful view. I'm so lucky to be here right now brushing my teeth. Then I came back from the climbs and I'm in the bathroom and I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, is that is it? Like, what's wrong with my face? Should I wax it? Like, what? Like, I'm picking at myself the entire time. And I caught it because it was such a contrast. So then I asked my kids, I'm like, guys, what do you talk about when you brush your teeth? No one was giving themselves a pep talk. I'm like, okay, from here on out, we're going to write it on the wall or you can memorize it, but you're only allowed to say positive things about yourself when you're brushing your teeth. And guess what? You're doing it a couple times a day and it changes the game.
Mm. That's amazing. Yeah, and these little systems, they can take you so far in life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If they've become religious, I'm big on the systems that move you out of like bad energy constantly. And again, like if you're doing big things, especially in business and life, like big problems come, like, and fortune favors the bold. Like there's always going to be like a level of chaos that you somehow have to manage. But for me, it's like, I don't need to be perfect at managing. I just need to be aware, like when I need to reshift my brain and pull me back to a position of power. And that power being like, so that I could still treat people with kindness. I can still figure out where the solutions are with like a clear head. And I always describe the awareness. I find it helps a lot of people, but I've become so physically aware of of what a feeling is that I actually hate. Now that I'm aware of it, I know I do not like the way this feels, but it'll be like a heartbeat in my throat, like blood pressure. And when I feel it, it makes it so easy to pull back. And anybody knows that. If you're a man, especially, maybe a woman too, but I've said this before, if you're driving down the freeway and someone throws an egg and it hits your window and like someone flips you off, like if you're a male, like that lights you up, like mother, like you could, if I had a gun in the side, like when I was a kid, I might say mother, but you could feel that pressure of like, you just been assaulted, but that could kill someone. I could literally get in our car, like my rage. And so even that is an odd extremity. Like the second I feel it, if you have a system to pull out of it because you're aware, like simple deep breath in through the nose. I mean, whatever the system is, like it's amazing how much you can control as a point. Like you find that trigger point for you and put a system to it.
Yeah. Huge.
Yeah. I love this interview. I'm really looking forward to Lake Tahoe. I could talk to you all day. I know you have another meeting to go to, but I want to make sure that if we have anybody in the audience that wants to connect with you, I think anyone that's listening will, where can we send them, Jen, and how can they work with you?
Yes, please. So check out jenndrummond.com. I'm the Jenn Drummond on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and then Jenn Drummond on LinkedIn. Say hi. Tell me what you loved about this episode. Let me know what you're up to. I am here to cheer you on and support you in all things. So thank you so much for having me here today.
You are such a gift to the world. So we got jenndrummond.com and the Jenn Drummond on social media. If you like the show, great. You got to share it because we can't push this message, which is powerful for so many people. If you guys don't help share it, like, comment, all the good things, please go support my friend Jen. She's an absolute rock star. Love you, Jen. You're amazing. Thank you. I'm a man.